Hello class, in this video I'll be showing you how to find the value of the 6 trigonometric functions of theta given two sides of a right triangle. Let's begin. So if we look at the triangle over here, we have two given sides and one side that's not given. We're going to first identify the hypotenuse, and in that case it's the side opposite of the right angle. So here's the right angle right there. And the side opposite is the square root of 6. So this side here with the square root of 6 is the hypotenuse, and we're going to label that C. And we always label the hypotenuse C, always. Next, we want to identify the adjacent side and the opposite side. So if we take an arrow and point it straight across from theta, that will be the opposite side. And you can label that A or B, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to label it A. And the side that's not the opposite side is the adjacent side. We're going to label this B. And before we can find the value of the 6 trig functions, we're going to have to figure out what the value of b is, and we can do that by applying the Pythagorean theorem. So we have 2 squared plus b squared is equal to the square root of 6 squared. So b squared is equal to 2, which implies that b is equal to plus or minus the square root of 2. And for right now, we're going to disregard the negative square root of 2, and we're going to only work with the positive square root of 2 until later on in the chapter, when we will introduce when we use the negative solution. So for right now, we're only going to use the positive square root of 2. Now we can find all 6 trigonometric functions, starting with sine of theta. Sine of theta is the opposite side divided by the hypotenuse. So that will be 2 divided by the square root of 6. And it is a common practice to rationalize the denominators. So we're going to multiply both the numerator and the denominator by the square root of 6. So the sine of theta is 1/3 square root of 6. Cosine of theta. Cosine is the adjacent side divided by the hypotenuse. So that will be the square root of 2 divided by the square root of 6. Again, it's customary to rationalize the denominators. So that is equal to the square root of 12 divided by 6. The square root of 12 reduces to 2 root 3 divided by 6. So this is 1/3 square root of 3. Now we want to do the tangent of theta. Tangent is the opposite side divided by the adjacent side. So that would be 2 divided by the square root of 2. And that is the square root of 2. Next, let's go with cosecant. Remember that cosecant of theta is the reciprocal of sine. So since sine is 2 divided by the square root of 6, cosecant is going to be the square root of 6 divided by 2. Secant is the reciprocal of cosine. So that would be the square root of 6 divided by the square root of 2. And in this case, it would be easier to write this as one radical, like such. So that is the square root of 3. And then cotangent is the reciprocal of tangent. So that would be the square root of 2 divided by 2. And now you have the value of all 6 trigonometric functions given that specific right triangle. On a side note, you don't have to write 1/3 square root of 6. You can actually write that as the square root of 6 divided by 3, and that is the same exact answer. And that's the same for the cosine of theta. You don't have to write that as 1/3 the square root of 3. You can write that as the square root of 3 divided by 3, and that is exactly the same answer.